When life gets unpredictable, preparation matters. In medicine, it's all about staying alert, ready for whatever comes through the door. On the road, it's no different. That's why Volvo designs vehicles to help anticipate risk, reduce harm, and protect lives. The Volvo XC90's advanced safety systems inspire confident decisions wherever the road takes you. The Volvo XC90, for life. Proud sponsor of the Pit Podcast. Learn more at volvocars.ca/safety.
Trudy Mason sitting in for Elias again today, wanting to bring you up to date on an initiative put together by Mila, the Quebec Artificial Intelligence Institute. It is running a hackathon this week to find ways to shield artificial intelligence users from the mental health risks posed by, in some cases, chatbots. There have been some suicides linked to conversations with chatbots. And of course, there is that connection to the shooter in Tumbler Ridge, BC, where an open AI chatbot helped that person plan the killings. Here to tell us more about the hackathon and its goals is Simona, Gandrabur, studio manager with Mila. Thanks very much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
What is the goal of the hackathon?
So first of all, I just wanted to say the hackathon is co-organized by Mila, but also with Bell Business and Buzz HPC and with and for Kids Help Phone. The goal of the hackathon is to build guardrails. These are models that are trained to detect high-risk conversation between a youth and a chatbot, such that, for example, in the case of Kids Help Phone, a human could take over the conversation if the risk was deemed too high.
Do you have any sense of how often young people are using AI chatbots to discuss problematic issues, to talk about violence, to talk about self-harm?
Well, there have been multiple studies around the use of chatbots for companionship, for therapeutic use, and also especially by the youth. So around that, we know that 1 in 8 teenagers in a study by Harvard Research, the 1 in 8 teenagers is using a chatbot for mental health consultations. We also know that therapy and companionship is now the number one use case as of last year, surpassing any use of chatbots for efficiencies. We don't have a breakdown as to how much of those conversations are actually used for violent events and threat to others.
The concern is, I think, at two levels. The concern is that the chatbot itself would allow this to go unflagged, and then when it does occur. And then the other concern is the chatbot would encourage or implicitly approve of plans for violence or self-harm. In the hackathon, what exactly are your experts, on what level are they examining the question?
So there are different ways a chatbot would try to reply to an answer that talks to a question related to suicide or harm to others. In principle, there should be safety alignments within the chatbot and safety guardrails also on top of the chatbot that try to flag and filter those conversations out. But there are also, within the design of a chatbot, mechanisms that maximize user engagement and therefore tends to echo back what the user wants to hear. What we want to do in the hackathon is to train these independent guardrails. These are like filters, or you can see them as security agents that flag high-risk interactions, both from the user input and the chatbot output, and that is independent of the context and of the chatbot behavior intrinsically.
There was also the concern in the Tumbler Ridge case that the individual's use of the chatbot, the conversations that were being held with the chatbot, were actually discussed. They were flagged and discussed by human beings at the organization and found not to rise to the level of concern where authorities might be alerted. Is there also not a responsibility there within these organizations that offer chatbots to the public?
Definitely. So you're right. The security risk was flagged automatically by the chatbot. The question is when and whether that was also maybe done too late in the process, whether there had been if the person had been able to engage in kind of mass shooting ideation with the chatbot before the flag being raised. And then in addition to that, the question is, once that was flagged, what policies, company policies, are in place to flag these events to authorities? And we've seen, obviously, they were too lenient.
Your hackathon is running through to the 23rd of this month. By the 23rd, what do you hope to have in place? Do you think you would have a global solution to be able to present to companies, or at least an argument to present to these companies to take a look at?
Well, the first and foremost thing that all the teams, there are 80 teams, by the way, over 400 participants from 45 cities across Canada. So all of the participants will work on first generating synthetic data that, according to a specific recipe that we consulted with social workers and experts with, will reflect the way kids are talking to chatbots about mental distress. So they will first be generating a large data set that we will be reevaluating thereafter. On top of that, each individual team will be training their own version of the guardrail model, and we will score them based on a held out secret test set. So we'll have a leaderboard basically of all these different approaches. And the ultimate outcome, eventually, once all these entries are in, Mila, AI Safety Studio, will be working to consolidate all these data sets, all these different guardrails, and produce an improved and high fidelity version of a guardrail that could be made available for kids' cell phone to use within their experimental chatbot or for other opinions to safeguard their applications.
You know, Simona, one of my concerns is that teenagers are so dang smart that if guardrails are put in place, if certain problematic language, even problematic slang is flagged, they'll find a way around it. They'll find out and they'll find a way around it to defeat the guardrails. Is this also a concern of your teams, is they won't be able to stay ahead of these very bright kids?
Well, our kids are very bright, but they also need help. And yes, the guardrails, if they are static and once put in place, they won't be able to foresee any kind of, we call them jailbreaks or ways to circumvent them, maybe intentionally. However, the hope is that when a kid turns to, say, kid's cell phone, they are not in a mode where they want to maliciously circumvent the guardrails. They're in a mode where they're asking for help. And the goal of the hackathon is to make sure that when we build a chatbot that is intended to be an open door for kids to reach out to, that the chatbot is able to accurately flag when the risk for suicide, for example, or harm to self or others is too high to be so for the conversation to be continued on the chatbot, and then the human needs to step in.
Well, that does provide some hope. All right, Simona, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Simona Gandrabur is a studio manager with Mila. We've been talking about that hackathon underway, taking a look at AI chatbots that interact with young people.
Introducing Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio. Hosted by Bryan Adams himself.
Join me for an insider look on a wild ride through 40 years of global rock and roll.
Bryan Adams Radio. Now available on the free iHeartRadio app. Or ask your smart speaker to play Bryan Adams Radio on iHeartRadio.
Who's ready to rock?
Kids wanna rock.